Hey investors, Bradley here from Watson Estates, and you're listening to the largest and fastest growing podcast for Toronto real estate on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. As a broker and investor, it is critical that I'm aware with what's going on in the rental market, and that's why I've been super appreciative of Liv.rent. They've continued to share insights that we've been kind of corresponding to you on the show, speaking to what are some of the major shifts going on in the rental market. Well, today I wanted to talk specifically about trends that landlords need to be aware of, whether that's technology or changes in systems and just how people are doing business in real estate these days. And I couldn't think of a better guest than Matisse Yu from Liv.rent to come on, share some of her wisdom with us, some tidbits of info as you guys go out and are trying to improve, really streamline your processes as landlords out there in the GTA. I know I got a ton out of this episode, and I hope you guys love it too. If and when you do, please tag us on Instagram as you share it at Watson Estates. You can also tag Liv.rent at Liv.rent. And hit the like button, hit the comments, leave us any questions that you have. We're constantly paying attention to what you guys are saying. I don't want this to be a one-way conversation. And what really makes this episode exciting for me is I asked if Liv.rent could actually share a demo, because as I'm introducing you guys to these amazing systems that have worked for me and that I think are changing the game, I want you to see just how easy it can be. So at the end of this episode in our discussion, we actually go through a demo for you on how to set up an account, get your free listing posted, and just change the way you're able to accumulate applications and write up lease agreements. It's a fabulous tool, and I know you're going to love it as much as I do. Enjoy the show. Matisse, thanks for joining us on the show. How you doing today?
Good. How are you, Bradley?
Good. This has been a long time coming, getting Liv.rent to join us on the show. So thank you for taking time to come and share. Our listeners are by now probably familiar with what you guys do a little bit in the way of sharing stats. So if we're going to talk about trends and landlords and things people need to be paying attention to, I really believe you guys are the company to come on and share that. So I'm thrilled to have you join us today on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be here. And yeah, I'm really happy to hopefully share some informative pieces of information with everybody.
Definitely. Okay, so before we dive into it, I'm curious if you could share at a high level what Liv.rent is all about, maybe a little bit of your history, just so we can familiarize our audience and people can get to know you guys like I do.
Yeah, for sure. So we officially launched in 2018 in August. So we are an all-in-one rental platform or software for renters, landlords, and property managers. Yeah, we're really a tech startup, and we're here to change the way everybody rents in Canada.
Oh, wow. Short and sweet. I think that was a little bit of you're underselling, guys, just to kind of boost Liv.rent. Liv.rent is doing some pretty cool stuff out in Vancouver. And for anyone who follows our show, you know, Vancouver is a good starting place for tech startups. And often they'll jump from Toronto to Vancouver or from Vancouver to Toronto. And I've been able to watch you guys succeed out there. I've even connected with you as you've been growing, expanding into Toronto, which has been a pleasure for myself as well. And I know if there's, as mentioned, if there's a group that can explain what trends are coming down the pipes, technology and otherwise, this is the conversation. So why don't we start off right there? Why don't we start off with trends? What are some of the big trends that you guys have noticed are coming down the pipes right now? And this is specific for our audience. This is specific to landlords. We have a pretty large investor following, and I wanted to speak to them today.
Yeah, for sure. And something that I do want to bring up is, recently we've seen a lot of short-term rental inquiries for our landlords. And this is something that actually we get asked quite often. Should I rent short-term? And here, just for reference, I am referring to, between 1 to 6 months. Should I rent short-term? Should I rent long-term? What are the benefits? Will I be able to do short-term? And so, with more people coming into Canada right now, what we're experiencing, as people call it, the endemic, and also a lot of relocation across the country, we're seeing a lot of people, looking for short term. So in a recent case, we actually had a landlord post their listing with a 1-year minimum lease at about $1,900. And he actually received a bunch of short-term inquiries, including one for 4 months. And what they offered was actually $2,400 a month instead. Wow. And he actually ended up taking it because he knew, at the end of 4 months, it would be August. And he would actually be able to secure a 1-year lease at probably a much higher asking rent And him being, a more of a seasoned landlord, he was pretty confident in renting it out. So there's this kind of mix in, short and long-term rental strategy that I'm seeing that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I know many investors that are committed to only doing short-term rentals. I have folks reach out for that reason. And we now, with the elections around the corner, we have certain provincial parties that are advocating for not even being able to increase the rent beyond a prior tenant's rent. So we've got some pretty drastic measures that are affecting
Mhm.
landlords. And so I can see short-term rentals working their way in already, and I can see that continuing. Are there any other major trends that you see playing out with some of the landlords that are working with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of them are taking tenant screening seriously, which, it's really great because I really think this is so important. And, tenant screening, not just looking at someone's credit score, but really beyond that as well. Nowadays we have access to an abundance of information really, and looking at, whether it's looking at applicants' social media profiles, LinkedIn to confirm they're actually working where they say they're working, or even their Facebook or Instagram profiles if they're public. But not only that, we actually also have access to public court records, and that's something that not a lot of landlords are aware of. And of course, calling references, whether it's a previous landlord or an employer, and actually checking those references out. There's still a lot of landlords who don't care to do these things, but more and more landlords are definitely, understanding the importance of this. And I think the technology and access we have has really helped this. And for me, actually, tenant screening goes beyond just the application credit check. It actually starts, right at the very beginning with the first inquiry. But yeah, this is something we're definitely seeing, and that's really, really important. So I hope this continues to trend upwards.
I think it will. I think in the information age, people, if there's a accessible information, will want it. I know for me, even back to my skilled competition, we had these competitions, case competitions. And the way that you best present the competition and the advice is to paint the picture. That was a big key word, paint the picture. And I've really,
Mhm.
that's carried with me and some of my portfolio and my projects as I'm screening tenants on, have I been able to fully paint the picture? Do I know this person? And the more tools that
Mhm.
I've had at my fingertips, live rent included, the better. And now there is obviously some who don't, but I do tend to think that many of our listeners are kind of in this similar line of thinking where, you apply for a mortgage, there's all of this stringent criteria. Why, if that
Mhm.
information is available, is that something you don't take seriously? Let's maybe do one more. Any other trends that come to mind as you're kind of looking at things and surveying the landlord landscape?
Yeah, this is actually from the renter side, but it definitely affects landlords, and it's that tenants are asking for proof. So before I get into this, let me just set the stage a little. Let me share some stats. Um, this is from the Better Business Bureau that 43% of North American renters have come across a fake rental ad. In the first 6 months of 2019, Canadians lost $1.4 million just to rental scams. And the CBC reported from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center that from 2019 to 2020, fraud and scams in general doubled from 2019 to 2020. And rental scams alone, specifically, up 15%. So, there were countless articles about this. So renters are very, very painfully aware that there are rental scams out there, and they're trying to be extra cautious. So as a result, you've got tenants asking landlords, can I see your land title? Can I see that you are who you say you really are? There's actually some examples on Reddit where a renter was asking, can I actually ask a landlord this question? Like, can I ask to see their land title documents? And you had so many landlords and renters saying, yes, you should do that. And that, it actually shows how responsible you are as a tenant. And I think this is something that we're just going to see more and more of, because honestly, I get scam calls like every day, and it's not going to stop. So I truly believe, legit attracts legit. So if you're a responsible landlord or you're a responsible tenant, you're going to attract, a responsible counterpart. So I think, a tip here is, try to show that you are indeed, a verified landlord. You truly manage the listing that you're posting.
Matisse, that's such a good point. I think we get caught up in this idea that we need to screen, 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 and there's no mirror. We're not really putting that out. And having some legitimacy, whether that's through, podcasts and interacting and being involved in the real estate community, is another good way of, and having, in this case, a platform or that blue check mark, right, is becoming more important than ever. It's such a good point. And I love that point. The legitimate attracts legitimate, or that's what you said, legitimate, right?
Yeah. I just legit attracts
legit. Oh, you said it cooler. Legit. I like that. All right. So these are great. And obviously the world is becoming, it's funny because as we see markets shifting, even the real estate business, we see that happening across the globe almost in real time simultaneously. It's so fascinating. And so I'm curious, as Canada is very much committed to immigration, how this is maybe playing out as landlords are looking. I would think there would be a level of skepticism, but nowadays people can see full tours of units. So I'm curious how technology is maybe playing itself through with international renters, or if we have people that maybe have not so glamorous credit. Does being able to see deeper allow us to overcome some of these things?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I know, especially with more of the first time landlords, there's a general fear of renting to international renters just because, they have low or no credit scores. And I always encourage our users to never skip over an application just because the applicant is an international renter. It just never really made sense to me that any landlord or property manager would skip over someone purely because of that reason. And I know a lot of realtors or property managers will do that, without looking further into their application. And, in 2019, there was a study done by Rickshaw Travels. Canada was actually ranked number 7 as one of the most diverse countries in the world. This included level of ethnic diversity and number of immigrants coming in, among 5 to 6 other criteria. Now, in 2021, we had about 405,000 new immigrants coming to Canada, which, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so that's pretty amazing. And the federal government actually released their, immigration level plans for the next, 2 to 3 years, with a target of 431,000 new immigrants this year. And that number just keeps on rising year after year. And you and I both know in this current market, a large percentage of those immigrants will be renters just because the prices are so high. So to sum it all up, you're going to get a lot of renters with no credit applying to your rentals. You should not be skipping over them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with technology, you can really look beyond that credit score, like, we kind of talked about earlier. With international renters, we always encourage them to send additional documents, employment letters, their salary, bank statements, et cetera, et cetera. And, while some of these things may be very sensitive information, there's a lot of technology that, protects both them and yourself. And so, yeah, I think technology really helps us with that and overcome that fear, if you will.
Yeah. And you guys have a really cool, we'll get to some of maybe the details on how you guys are able to bring all that information in front of people. But having spoken to tenants from other countries that are moving to Canada, oftentimes they are highly wealthy.
Yes.
And it's more of a decision to rent than a need to rent. And at the same time, there are some countries that I've come to learn that actually require people to have a certain net worth to be able to leave that country and to come here. So to skip over them, you're actually doing yourself an injustice, even if that's in that Airbnb space. So we'll get into a little bit more of the detail on how you guys are able to merge that. But you spoke briefly about how technology, are there other ways that we see technology shaping the future of renting?
Yeah, for sure. I think really an overarching theme we talked about during this segment is transparency through technology, and for both sides. I think that's so greatly needed in the rental industry, both technology and transparency, to be honest. No one thinks, oh, renting, fun. And I'm not sure if we'll ever get there, but at the very least, we can try to make it a little bit less stressful, a bit less icky for landlords and renters alike. I think that's something that's really important.
And you guys are often leading the charge on that. And what are some of the things that you've done to kind of get ahead of it in the technology space?
Yeah, so something we really pride ourselves in is verifying our landlords and listings. So there's a kind of double verification there. So with landlords, we actually ID verify them, and for renters as well, we'll ID verify them. 'Cause we've seen, scams trying to be made both ways. And for listings, we'll verify by land title documents or by a unique code sent via postcard. So those are just some of the things that we've been doing on our end.
Yeah. And I know you guys were one of the first to talk about this idea of paying rent through Bitcoin, which has become a really kind of cool concept. So keep it up. But so I really do want to highlight a little bit. We'll talk about some of the functions and what you guys are doing so people know what's available. I think there's maybe, I'm in the real estate business, so I don't want to assume everybody recognizes what tools are out there. And even for real estate professionals, they don't know these tools exist. But before we go there, tell me a little bit about the history maybe of liv.rent and what you guys in the several years you've been running have been doing, and just that kind of process of growth and leading the charge on this, being able to help landlords.
Yeah, for sure. So we were actually founded in 2015, where R&D were done for about 3 years until our app officially launched in August 2018. So we were actually founded by a team of renters and landlords themselves who really set out to make a better experience for both sides. At the end of the day, I think we really are a tech startup fueled by real estate passions. And I think our platform really shows that. Thinking about from both sides, I'll maybe talk about the landlord side here. We really develop features that streamline the rental process and make it better. I always say this to probably everyone. I've said this to you. Historically, the real estate and rental industry, we're a bit behind in terms of technological adoption, and we really hope to change that because really, like, all aspects of our lives have improved. Why can't landlording improve along with it? Through technology. And so, I think another theme that has kind of become apparent during this segment is theme of accessibility for landlords, whether it's information. We're here to really help landlords gather enough information for them to make a decision about who they're going to rent to, but also accessibility to different property management tools and software that typically only, property managers and larger brokerages have access to. So for example, PAD, pre-authorized debit payments. This is something that, no small landlord, investor landlord will really have access to unless they're actually also a full-time property manager. Accepting payments by credit card, you usually need to have a merchant account, and that's also not something that smaller landlords will usually have. Even digital leasing software and addendums, just, the plethora of technology available now just to take care of this. It just makes the whole landlording experience so much better and easier. And I think that's really what fuels us and our business at the end of the day. It's really just trying to make renting easier and
Yeah.
something that we look forward to. I think landlording is fun because I use liv.rent. That kind of makes me a nerd, but it's true. And I hope that, more landlords have a better experience renting things out, because I know a lot haven't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would challenge investors that are using property managers to still consider this. I like the idea of accessibility and affordability. I think that's really kind of cool. It puts it back in the hands of small landlords who are often in that limbo between, I don't have a property manager, I've got lots of properties. And to be honest, that's the majority of investors in the real estate industry here in
Yeah.
Toronto. So I think that's super helpful. I guess to kind of clear things up, because people are still thinking like, what the heck do they do? I mean, you obviously do a lot, but how does this, can you explain, is this a marketplace? Is this a place people go to find listings, or is this a tool that helps landlords? Describe for us what that platform looks like.
Yeah, and this is a great question, and a question we get quite often. It's honestly both. We have the marketplace where, renters and landlords can meet, but our platform goes so much beyond that in terms of rental management. So, as a landlord, you can market and advertise your listing. We've got great UI. So your listing will always appear organized and informative. We have tenant screening tools, something that we call the Trust Score. That's actually powered by Equifax. So you've got a few different sections in there The first one is the credit check. The second one is what we call trustworthiness. So that's where a lot of the verifications happen in terms of identity, employment, income. We actually also include the public court record check for you in there as well. And then, of course, digital leases and addendums, that's all legally vetted on our platform, currently available only in BC and Ontario. And of course, payments, we do allow renters to pay with Bitcoin on our platform. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending who you are, landlords will always get Canadian dollars. We've had a lot of requests asking if they can receive Bitcoin, but as of right now, no. But yeah, so our tool really goes really beyond. And there's a saying we like to describe our platform: liv.rent is really the vehicle and you are the driver. We just give you the tools you need to get from A to Z. And you can really choose what features you want to use from us, depending on your own processes.
Yeah. And what drew me to you guys specifically, as I'm kind of looking at what tools and really the reason that I want you in front of our audience is I truly, I've gone through, heck, I've posted ads too for our listings. And I think it's so amazing the way that you're able to kind of approve both sides, make connections, and be able to not just have a listing, but reach out. You actually have a function where you can reach out and invite people to apply to your listing. So it's not a passive thing anymore. It allows you to make it your own. But just the search function and being able to find listings is extremely powerful. And the Toronto Real Estate Board, though we post leases, it's very inefficient. It's very expensive. And this, in my opinion, is way, way better. So
Thank you.
I want people to know about it. But in Ontario, I know you guys are much deeper roots in Vancouver, even though you guys would humbly say you're growing in Ontario. You have grown in Ontario. How do you find Ontario users interacting with liv.rent? How are people using these pages and kind of promoting them to folks? What's the most common way of doing that?
Yeah, I think the most common way is really using us as, like their hub, if you will. So really taking advantage of the fact that we allow unlimited listings for free on liv.rent. And then we have this really great share tool where you can share your listing and details to Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist, email, whatever. And it's really, really easy. And a lot of users like doing this because it's just, a few clicks. And then what they do is they actually bring all of their leads back to liv.rent, wherever they post. They'll tell, the prospective tenants to actually inquire and apply on liv.rent. So that's how they screen and collect applications.
Yeah. I know sending out the rental application can be difficult because tenants will say, well, I don't have a printer. How do I fill this out? So having an online platform to do that, where you can tailor those questions and then cross-reference, is just better. It's just so much better. So tell us, as you guys are growing in Ontario, in the GTA, how many listings do you have currently on liv.rent, and how many are renters? How many landlords? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we mostly operate out of BC and Ontario. So currently active, so not including all of the listings that we have rented out, we've got over 1,300 listings, renters over 80,000, and then landlords almost 7,000 on our platform.
There you go. 80,000 to 7,000. It's good numbers to me. So what makes, I guess, as a final question here, what makes you guys different than a property management company? Because people are going to start to think this is maybe competition, and in some ways, possibly. How do those two things work together?
Yeah, well, we actually get asked this question quite a bit. And at the end of the day, we aren't property managers. We don't do everything a property manager will do for you in terms of, helping you with maintenance requests and things like that. But our platform is, I think, really good at helping you streamline your process, and that's whatever you do, whatever tenant screening flows you have. Our tools really help empower those strategies. And I think that's what really sets us apart. It's the flexibility of our features and the ability for you to use it however you want. We've got a ton of features.
So I know our audience is probably getting pretty excited about some of the things that you guys can do. And that's why I actually had asked you guys if you could share a demo with us. And I think that this will really help with just kind of some of the stuff we talked about and maybe get a little bit more of the technical side. But what I will do, if it's okay, is I might jump in occasionally with some questions I think as we're going through that landlords will have as they're setting it up. But I like the idea of showing the demo because I feel like more than other apps or products that are available, I do think having kind of a visual will help people better understand why I love what you guys are doing. So I'll let you share your screen and show us a little bit about your platform.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. All right, let me start sharing. So I won't show everyone, how to sign up step by step, as I do think that's pretty straightforward. But I will emphasize our available pricing plans. And like I mentioned earlier, this is the plan to really take advantage of our unlimited listings. So you can post unlimited listings for free, which is not the case for most ILS websites. So yeah, this is Essentials plan is also really great as just a free trial if you want to try our platform out. And we actually went through a pricing plan change recently and made all of our plans much more affordable. So like we kind of talked about earlier, if you kind of compare it to, different realtor fees or even property management fees, this is, a lot less than what you would pay.
Definitely.
So let's jump into creating a listing. And this is really, really easy because we actually have a database of buildings. So I'm just going to go ahead and create an apartment. So you'll see once you start typing in your address, the building will pop up and it'll, pre-fill some of this information for you. Obviously, for your more unique information like unit number, you'll have to fill out yourself. But you can also actually choose to hide the unit number, which a lot of landlords like doing. So you'll actually see we already created this listing, so it's in our draft. So I'm actually going to go there first. So you'll see this, some of this information. We filled this out because obviously, your square footage, different rules that you want to attach to this listing, unfurnished, furnished, maybe you want to be flexible. You've got all of these fields, very easy to fill out, defining your lease terms, selecting the features. You can also add custom features, all of this, what utilities you want to include, as well as additional rental terms. This is all, again, very easy to fill out, describing your property. And here you can upload your unit photos, which I always say is so important because that's the first thing renters usually look at. And I would really, really encourage landlords to always include a video tour. We didn't really talk about this before, but this is just, such a lifesaver. And actually for me, this is one of my, part of my filtration process and filtering out any tenants who may not actually be that interested in my listing. So really, really encourage landlords to always include a video tour or even a 3D tour if you can. So we're going to go next. And you'll see here a preview of what your listing looks like. So really great UI. And again, here's the double verification. Your listing address is verified. Your ID is verified as well. A good note here is actually if you provide your business license as a form of ID verification, your listings will actually also be automatically verified because we've confirmed your business license.
Yeah.
So you see here, it's very informative, just really great for the renter. As someone who's in marketing, it's very, very important to have a good landing page. And this is your landing page, making sure it's organized, informative. This is my favorite part because as a renter, you're always looking for nearby transit. So this is automatically included, as well as building information. So you can actually click here and see more information about the building that it's in.
Yeah.
So
I love, sorry,
Yeah.
just step in. I really do like the interface and I've gone through this process. To be honest, it takes the longest time picking which pictures I think make my unit the sexiest. Other than that, I haven't actually uploaded the videos. Do those pop up on, do they come on the slideshow of photos or where do the videos usually reside?
Yeah, so if you you have two options. So you can actually upload your own video or link it to a YouTube link or a Vimeo link, whatever, and it'll actually show here. And then renters can click and watch the video here.
And I think that's awesome because you can work with a realtor, post the ad and also have that posted here pretty seamlessly. And they would have those videos and that content they could put. Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And just to your point about choosing what photos to post up, I always encourage landlords to post their kitchen photo. as their first one. That's always somewhat, something that renters look at. But yeah. So the next thing we always encourage people to do, and this is the share tool that I mentioned earlier. This is just so great and such a time saver. So from here, you can actually download all of your listing images and it'll do that automatically for you. And Facebook is always my number one. So once you, copy this description, you go to Facebook, automatically leads you there. You can add your photos that, you just automatically downloaded. Obviously, you still have to, again, fill out a few things, but the best part is that you just get to copy and paste.
Yeah.
And all of this information is here. So, going through this, 150.
And while you're doing that, one of the other things that I love about using Facebook Marketplace is that you can share them. They've gotten really functional at sharing them with groups. So if you're in, let's say, downtown Toronto, there are many, many Toronto groups. There are buy and sell groups. There are listing groups, real estate groups. There's investor groups. There's so many different groups you should be sharing. And I can't remember the limit, but it might be like 10 or 20 groups you can share per ad. So that's another great way of adding exposure. And then obviously having the liv.rent link. That's how I've been using it.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see, I'm a part of so many, both in Vancouver and Toronto. And so here you can really, choose where you want to add your listing to. And it's just so easy. I always encourage being a part of as many groups as you can, just to really maximize your exposure, because truly everything begins with marketing.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased, but everything begins with marketing. And then you can just hit publish and you're good. You've shared to Facebook Marketplace. And now, so the next thing that I do want to show is the listing or landlord dashboard. So clicking into your listing, I'm actually going to go to another one here. So here you can actually see where you stand. So,
awesome.
the number of applications you received, views in the last days. This one is currently hidden, but also the average rent price near you. So average rent per square feet. So here we can see, we're exactly average.
I love that.
This is really
and I know
great.
that's coming from reliable info. I would assume that's coming from your database that you guys are sending to us. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So this does update automatically once you, change your rental price, or even if, more listings get added near you. So it's really, really great. Another thing that I do want to point out here is the suggested tenants, which you actually mentioned earlier. So here are actually a list of tenants whose saved filters exactly matches your listing. So this is where you can really be active in your pursuits of finding your tenant. You can, scroll through this and actually sort by a few different criteria and actually message them, be like, hey, it seems that, you're looking for what I have. Let's chat. And can you guys send me your application, things like that. So it's a really great way for landlords to, stay active, especially for those who want to be more, proactive with finding a tenant rather than waiting for applicants to come to them.
Now, when we get verified as landlord, I know that process is pretty straightforward. You get the ID and the business license there, but what verification do these tenants to get those blue check marks? What are they doing?
So they're doing the exact same thing. They're actually sending in their government issued ID and they're matching it to a selfie. So, we've actually, had people send in selfies that don't match the ID whatsoever. So, I'll tell you that, we do have a team that checks. So, renters and landlords, when they have that blue check mark, it's the exact same criteria. They are truly who they say they are.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So back to our dashboard. So next we're going to look at, our chats. So we actually also call this our timeline because, everything actually happens here, whether it's your chat messages or even events. So, we've got something here called quick replies. So, once you select it, you can send this right away. You can also edit these and, order it to whatever you want. Thank you instead of thanks. It's really great. And something that we always encourage as well is invite to apply. So this is a really great CTA, call to action. Us marketers love to use CTAs and make people do stuff. This will make your renters apply to your listing. So this is just a really great place to, have everything in one place. Like, I am terrible at responding to people just because I have WhatsApp, I've got iMessage, text message, messenger, just everything. So for my rentals, I really just like it to be in one place.
And back to your point of legit attracts legit, that is what makes it legit versus sending an email that has a rental application, a standard rental app. This has an actual platform to do it. And clearly you're official, and coming in with that premise on tenants is important because, you don't want to get walked all over as a small tenant or a small landlord that doesn't know what they're doing. Clearly you have your ducks in a row with a product like that, which is why I love it. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And so now let's go to this one. So let's look at some of the applications because we always actually get asked about this. So here's where you can see, all of your received applications for your listing. And what's really great about this is you can actually, sort it by, different criteria, especially when you have a lot of applications. This is really great. Something else I love to do is favoriting applicants, just because, at some point, like I had hundreds of applications here, and being able to favorite that really helps me remember who I had intentions of renting to. But yeah, so let's click into Emma. I do want to disclaim, this landlord profile and renter profiles, these are not real for the sake of privacy of our users. But yeah, so this is the application. So the number one thing I look at first is actually the trust score. So something that I mentioned earlier. And so this credit section is again powered by Equifax, and we actually have our trust score out of 100. So it's made up of these different sections. So this, we actually have an AI algorithm that we created in-house to work with credit scores in order to create this. So this will actually check the last 4 years of the renter's credit history. It'll show you how many accounts have been checked, any records of bankruptcy or collections, as well as their credit utilization. And I love tooltips, so it's really great that we have these to really explain what each of these mean, because again, not every landlord will know exactly what it means. I mean, I definitely did not when I first started out. And the next section is trustworthiness. So really ensuring, they are who they say they are, through identity verification. Their social verification is actually whether they connected to their LinkedIn profile. So, in this day and age, almost everyone, most people will have a social media profile. So, being able to connect that, is a sense of verification.
Yep.
And this is specifically for LinkedIn.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, so we also have employment verification as well as income verification. And this is really great because you can actually look into the document itself. Obviously, this is again fake for the purposes of this demo. And their T4. So this is really, really beneficial for landlords to see. And then we've got income to rent ratio. So this is just something, a calculation we do on your part based on their report salary, as well as court record verification. This is something our team also checks for any infractions, and we note it here. So if something is found, we'll flag it and we'll encourage you to really find out, more information about it. Or
and a good practice is to Google the person too. I find you get a lot of information on them just from doing that small maneuver.
Yeah, for sure. And like we kind of talked about earlier as well, tenant screening really goes beyond the application. You have things that you can see on paper, but being able to meet the tenant, whether it's over a Zoom or even in person, it's a lot more telling, I find, still more than an application. An application is just a really great place to start.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any other platforms that have that court record verification at all. So I think that's an awesome add-on that I personally check, but that you guys are clearly doing. The real estate agents out there, they're not doing that. So not a bad idea to take a look.
Yeah, for sure. And so for the rest of the application, you've got, if you scroll up, a bit of their bio, whether they do have pets, as well as, different financial details, employment references, landlord references, if they do have any, as well as extra information like insurance or automobile information. So this is, a really great place to just see all that information all in one place, packaged for you very well. Yeah.
Awesome. So we find somebody, we like them. Where do you go for that? How do we kind of get them started? What kind of signing happens there for our users?
Yeah, for sure. So, once you've identified which applicant you want to go ahead with, we make it really easy. So you see this create contract button here from the application. You click that, you can see the tenant is automatically loaded here. You're loaded here for, in this case, I am Julian. And here, you define your basic terms. And so here, we've got this pre-filled out, the contact address, your information, the lease terms, rent information, whether you're including rent discounts, rent deposit, key deposit, insurance, things like that, things that are outlined on the tenant agreement, as well as all the features, utilities, and any additional rental terms that you want to include. And of course, in Ontario, no pets clauses are void. This means, they cannot be enforced here. So we do ensure we remind landlords here because they will try to toggle this on. Yeah. And any extra fees that you want to include. So this is all, really easy to fill out. And we also have addendums. So this is really, really great. We provide our landlords with these addendums for smoking, subletting, tenant package insurance, suite painting, and wallpapering, et cetera, et cetera. I usually like to add all of them just so I can really try to bulletproof my lease. And from here, you can actually preview your contract. So again, all of our tenancy agreements and addendums are legally vetted by our team. So here you can, review all of the things that you've selected, ensuring everything is, up to standard and what you want. And so you can actually preview the entire contract here. Again, see, it says draft. So there's a really great preview of what
there it is. That's
like
the
here.
form right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
So yeah, really, really easy. And just press continue.
So in the real estate line of work, we have lease agreements that we've been using long before the standard lease forms. When I add them as addendums or use forms as a realtor now, I only use the standard form. I don't even use the lease agreement. So having them all built on that exact paperwork is very familiar. And I know you're saying you're having the lawyers review it, but I can see it's the same papers. So
yeah. And so these are our terms and conditions, and then we send. So the contract is now signed by Jessica. And so here, so you actually haven't signed it yet. So you get to review it once more if you want. And so you continue. And we've got the terms. So you can see that they've signed it, and now you can sign it here as well. And now you've completed your contract.
And so that's all linked through email that they've set up with their account.
Yes. Yeah.
If you have, can you have someone apply that doesn't have a liv.rent account, or that needs to be set up in order to be able to do this?
That needs to be set up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now you can see the contract signing is completed, and you'll actually get an email as well confirming this, as well as a unique code where we actually have a feature where you can verify your contract. So that's also really beneficial. So now you're done and you want to get paid. One of the most important parts. So let's go back to tenants. So this is a different listing, but from here we can actually manage our payments and request a payment. So you can actually request for rent payments or the deposit. So let's say we're going to request for our monthly rent, and we're going to say it's due end of week. So from here, you can actually send the request, and it'll be sent through the chat again, what we're calling the timeline. So you can see, there's quite a few different, events here where you can see that the payment request has now been sent. So again, really, really easy. And your tenant can actually pay through our platform again, whether it's through Bitcoin or a credit card or whatever. And this is actually, all set up here. So connecting a Stripe account, or if you have direct deposit, we actually allow you to get automated rent payments. And then the last thing that I will show is just how easy it is to renew your contract. It's literally just a few clicks from renewing contract. We go through the same contract flow, and you can change some of the terms if you want. But from here, preview, and then you send, and you do the exact same process. And there you have it. That's our platform in a gist.
Yeah, and thanks for walking us through it. I think that'll be really helpful as a reference and a tool just to kind of get an idea of all the features. I don't know if everyone's going to use every feature, but I can see somebody very quickly falling in love and wanting to take advantage of them. So yeah, thanks again, Matisse, for taking time to come on and share that demo with us, and really share with us what landlords can expect in the future of real estate. There's things changing so quickly, and I really do value the partnership we have with liv.rent. You guys have been super helpful to our show, and become pretty good friends as well. So thank you for taking the time. But a big question for you is for folks that want to get involved in what liv.rent is doing, where are they best to connect with all of you there?
Yeah, so definitely on our social media, liv.rent. Again, subscribe to us for our blog. We do send out our monthly rent reports. Sometimes you get an exclusive first peek. And yeah, check us out. Check us out at liv.rent/landlords to learn more.
And guys, again, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave those down below. And please be sure to like and comment, whatever it takes. And subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to continue to put out wonderful episodes on Toronto's #1 real estate podcast. Matisse, thanks again for taking the time, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Bradley.